Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Uh, does anybody want to speak? If you can request to speak on here, they'll go ahead and get that started for you, and we can jump right in. Well, looks like we have a decent group here so far. Um, I am happy to take some questions. Here we go. Your mic is muted. I can see that, but you're able to speak. I think it's Riss on the bottom of your screen. If you're on a smartphone, it should you should be able to click the mic on or off. All right, guys, I'm good to go. So I will be happy to answer any questions I can answer, and then I will talk about the things I have on my list to discuss. So if there's any questions, you can put them in the or on X or Twitter, or you can request to speak, and I can answer as many questions as you'd like. We have an hour. Okay, so Sirius Black 88 asked, how is it going to work with the EM tag removal? I'm going to make you guys wait till the end, because I think once we start talking about, I'd like to cover a few other things and answer some questions besides just EM removal, but I will address that tonight, and I will give those updates. I think it's Legend. You can speak. I think it says you're muted right now. Aaron, you can speak now. Well, I heard you for a second, Aaron, and then you went back on mute.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to see if I can get the sound working.
No, it works fine. I can hear you loud and clear, man.
Oh, cool. Happy to be on here.
Oh, yeah. I am too. I think we're going to try to. I'm not a big fan of this platform. I think it's hard for people to understand how to speak and what to do and ask questions. I'd like to use another platform moving forward, and I think this is something we're going to look to do a little bit on a more regular. We're almost. I mean, we've toyed back and forth with podcasts and things of that nature, but I'm not sure what we're going to do. But I think that we're going to make it a. I don't know if it'll be weekly, but definitely bi-weekly for sure.
Cool.
To stay engaged with everybody, and I think as things move forward, and some of the things we're going to discuss with what we have planned and what I can finally talk about, I think we'll have everybody excited, and I think we'll go from I don't even know we have 25 listeners now to probably 50 to 100 in no time. So, um, do you have any specific questions that you want to ask? I think somebody just asked one here. Hold on.
I know that a few people that I've been in communication with actually wrote up a list, so I can go ask them if they have that list ready.
Go ahead, man. I mean, I'm here. And we've got an
Yeah.
hour slotted, so um, I'll answer any questions I can, and then really go into the things I wanted to cover. With kind of what we've got in the horizon, moving into Q1, 2, and 3 next year. Some of the big things, and obviously then talking about where we're at with the EM, with the SEC, with all that stuff. So.
Oh, we're going to be talking about that in this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's. I mean, I think everybody wants to know it. So, I've kind of gone back and forth, and Tucker may be joining us. He's traveling, so I'm hoping that Jason can join. But also, I talked with all of our legal team and some people, with the powers to be. So, I'm going to dive into the EM thing a little bit tonight, and that should make some people happy.
Okay, well, I just got to say one more thing before I put myself on mute. Your social media assistant is on fire.
Oh,
So,
Kelly.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she's extremely protective, and I'm very happy with how she handles stuff. And she's kind of a pain, to be honest. I mean, I know she's listening because I'm remote, but it's like I'm a quiet guy. I don't really like to post stuff on social media, and she's constantly hounding me for pictures and everything because she runs not just social media for the company, but she's handling mine. And that's one of the things she's getting ready to take over social media for Cnna as well. So the responses will, I think people will be extremely happy because I know she's responsive for Prodigy. She will then, also be that responsive for Cnna very soon.
Perfect.
So.
Well, I'll let somebody else have the floor.
Yeah, man, I'm here. Anybody else want to request to speak? I'll be happy to answer those questions.
I did see that somebody did post a question on the actual in a Twitter comment.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one in
All right,
there.
I see actually 5. So excited to meet the special guest. Guest will be Tucker if he can make it, which will make everybody happy. But just knowing that he was traveling, I have the notes on probably every question you guys would ask Jason. So I'll answer those. Winning whale trading. What are the major risks and or challenges the company as well as subsidiaries anticipate in the coming year, aside from the OTC market status? I think when we look at something like that, it's just working with the OTC and, understanding what exactly it is they want. I think our biggest goal is, I think Tucker made the comment where he's like, hey, I'd love to see 25 cents a share. I'd like to see it higher. I mean, I'd like to not be an OTC stock. I mean, I didn't join in on this movement to be an OTC guy. I mean, my goal I'd love to be part, on the NASDAQ. So, anybody that's listening that trades regularly, that has a background, I know there's some people here that do, what that takes. And I think that's the biggest thing for us is people don't think of what the acquisitions were. You were acquiring basically startup companies that had a little bit of business and had massive connections and big things in the pipelines. But, having to go back and do audited financials, having to be independently audited, not just from our in-house accountants, but a third-party accountant, like having to do those things takes time and money. And I don't think, that anyone anticipated the EM status. And, that's obviously affecting us. But I think that with that, it's like you have to look at what do we anticipate? We anticipate having to deal with BS. And I'm just going to be a straight shooter. It's, we don't make the rules. We have to play by the rules. And you know, I've been an advocate, and I've said it many times. I'm not a fan of how a public company operates and how we have to be quiet. I would love to say everything and anything and keep shareholders as well as our customers and members, updated as much as possible. So I think the biggest hurdle for us is, just playing by the rules in the sense of what we can say, when we can say it, how we can say. You also said additionally, as far as or as brief as can be shared, key financial metrics, driving factor. I'm going to hit that kind of at the end if that's so. Would anybody else like to speak? They were the only questions that were in the chat so far. I lost my voice at a football game. Well, gee, I hope you had fun. I mean, I could say I lost my voice too. I mean, as Kelly posted, we're Eagles fans, so I'm sorry if there are any Dallas fans here, but I had the opportunity to go to the game and it was a good time. So I hope, patience, you lost your voice screaming. I think when we talk about the RX plan, what's exciting is a lot of people. I don't knock Mark Cuban. He's a massive entrepreneur and he's extremely successful, as we all know. I just think that he still looked at his prescription plan as big business. Um, I know we should say basically the company that they're acquiring their prescriptions through, they're a competitor of somebody that we use. But I think that they could still cut cost. And a big thing for me is what's the motivation? What's the reason for doing it? I think, you know, I don't know what Mark Cuban's motivation is. I'd love to sit down and talk to him one day, right? But for us, it's about a bunch of guys that got together and said, hey, here's a vision. We don't agree with how insurance works. We don't agree about the price of insulin and we don't agree, with how expensive things are. Why don't we give people access to discounted prescriptions? And what we did was we were able to partner with a major company that provides, they say 96%. I like the number 95 better, but they say 96% of all generics that are prescribed. It's typically about 1,000 that falls in that range. So in our program, you would basically pay to be a member. You'd pay a monthly fee. There's a fee for a single person. There's a fee for a family, which would cover up to 5 people total. And then all your prescriptions are covered in the sense of as long as you're on that list, you would then, have your doctor call into the pharmacy. It's mail ordered. You're getting your 90-day supply, your 60-day supply. So be it when you look at the acute or urgent care, a sinus infection, back pain, anything, an antibiotic. That's where we were able to solidify the partnership with the bigger group to be able to come under their umbrella for the 71,000 pharmacies. So I'm in Florida, so Publix is big here. So we have Publix, Walgreens, CVS, Walmart. I know that in Texas, HEB is big. I know that you have Kroger, and then we look at, Rite Aids and those groups. So we were able to work with those groups and say, hey, can these prescriptions be filled here? And they can. So it's no different than anybody else using, their prescription plan. And I just thought that was a really big one for us to say, what's the biggest pain point? I have a godchild that's type 1 diabetic at 5 years old. I think it's insane at the price of insulin. It's just absolutely insane. You'll never convince me any other way. It shouldn't be that. And, when we can bring the cost of insulin down to under $20 a vial, I've got friends that have Florida Blue, which is Blue Cross and Blue Shield. They're paying more than that with insurance. So we're able to really utilize some of those relationships in the bigger network to give out that kind of discount to our members. I hope that answers your question. I don't see any other questions right now. Does somebody want to go over the list of questions that you said that somebody has? Oh, you're welcome. I hope you get your voice back. You guys shouldn't be shy. I mean, 35 people in here I know is dying to ask questions.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good. How you been?
Good, good. Extremely busy. Haven't had a
I
chance to,
know.
to follow up with you. I've missed you a few
No,
times.
no, it's fine. I understand. You got a lot on your plate. Just curious. I know you're going to cover it eventually. Just a couple of fast questions. How many members do you guys currently have within the Prodigy health
Um,
plan?
I know we just broke over 1,000. Um, so that's existing and new customers. I know we just hit that milestone.
Part of that's what you brought over from Liberty.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. And I know you're going to cover this, but I think August 10th is when Jason Tucker withdrew his filings. Do you think? I know you got a lot going on between legal and everybody you're working with to submit the filing. But do you think that's going to happen this month?
I'll answer that question once we get a little bit deeper. And I
Okay.
just would like to talk about a few things with Prodigy.
Okay. Okay.
Because I think here's my thing, Steve. By the time we hit 6:30, 6:40 here in East Coast, so like give it another 10 to 15 minutes. As
Okay.
soon as we go into that EM conversation, I expect a lot of questions. So
Okay.
I'd like to I will address that for you. I give you
Okay.
my word. Like that will be one
Fair
of the
enough.
many things addressed about the EM tonight.
And we're going to hear from Jason Tucker.
I'm waiting on Jason right now. He is on a flight. He just texted me that he's landing, so I anticipate we will.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir. Legend, I think. Yes. One more thing. Hold on. Will we hear anything from the stem? I'll discuss the stem cell stuff as well. I know. I'll just hit on the stem cell. I know that the stem cell guys have been busy with what they're doing. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. So you look at the parent company as Cnna, and then you have the subsidiaries, which really, you have Prodigy Health, and then you have Prodigy Stem Cell. We could almost say Prodigy RX is another subsidiary as well, falling under the health. But those guys, I'm not involved in the day to day on what they're doing. I just know that they're making some headway, and they're working with some bigger clients and some bigger facilities on the stem cell stuff. I don't have an update on that side. I think that they will be putting out some information. They've made some really big moves here in the last few weeks. I'm sorry, that was something that somebody asked. You can go ahead.
Yeah, no worries, Mike. Greetings from
Yes,
Scottsdale.
sir.
Just wanted to kind of talk to you about, and we've talked about this in the past, but I think it would be helpful for everybody to understand kind of the ultimate goal, 3 or 5 years, whatever it is. Could you share that? I mean, I think you guys even want to move up maybe to the bigger markets once you meet the market capitalization
Yep.
thresholds from potentially NASDAQ. So could you touch on that for us?
Sure. So I think when we look at, let's say, a 3-year plan, the big thing for me is market share. I think that we're starting to see more and more companies transition into what we're doing. In the sense of telemedicine. Obviously, because of COVID, it was very big, and who knows what's going to happen this year. I mean, set politics aside, I don't know what's going to happen with the virus and things of that nature. But I think for us, one of the things that we're trying to be prepared for is if we're faced with another situation like that, can we take care of our member base, and can we scale with the influx of members that we will get if we face another situation like we did in 2020. But I think it's a matter of market share. When I look at data and analytics, a big thing for me is, how do we continually gain market share every month? How do we become bigger and bigger? And that's one of the things that's big for me. Now, some of the key factors that we look at, and we start talking about, just look at 24, for example. I mean, we're based realistically outside of Orlando. So we are going to be in that Eastern Florida, like Northeast section, we'd say. And we're really building out like the Prodigy Health Network. So a big thing for us is, we're a non-emergent company, meaning we're not for emergencies. I think that we're working on how do we fulfill that problem and help people, if it is technically a major medical, like, can we get into the major medical? I don't know, but can we refer people over there, for that? Hey, I was in a car accident situation. I need to go to the ER. I need to have surgery. That's not something we're touching on now. We're really looking at the day to day. But for us in 24, we're looking at acquiring, 2 established practices that are up and running with over 6,000 patients, to bring them into the network. We're actually we're really looking forward to finalizing with an orthopedic company, and also a cardiology unit. So for us, I think when we start looking in Q2, Q3 of next year alone, it's a matter of saying, hey, we're actually bringing in more doctors into our brick and mortar side, having specialists. One of the things that we utilize Dr. Jason for right now is a medical advisor for us. He has, I think he has 2 PhDs, among his doctorates that he holds. The big thing for him was he didn't have insurance as a kid. His mother worked very hard. He's written a book about it, and I think his story is very moving. I mean, personally, we're friends, but his story was moving in the sense of he wanted to create healthcare, and he didn't want to use insurance. And I think that when we were able to sit down and talk about that, it made sense to say, what if we had an orthopedic that was, on our team that knew we weren't going to take insurance? What if we almost, in a sense, tried to self-insure, where we said, hey, our members would pay X and receive these discounts? And that works really good if you're in our area, but I understand, like, you're in Scottsdale. So, you and I spoke. We've already visited Scottsdale about putting a brick and mortar, a Prodigy, health center out there. So I think the bigger things when we look is not just telemedicine. We're doing the telemed, we're doing the discount prescriptions, but it's also the brick and mortar. It's really about building a network. So I think before we talked about saying, hey, we want to have 20, 30% market share in the next 30 months, 36 months, that's extremely realistic for us. The way that we use data, data research, and that's something I can really go into if you'd like, but how we're using data for customer acquisition and what we're doing. But one of the big things we see is the big need for these brick and mortars, because it's not that I'm anti-insurance, but most people on here could agree they're paying for insurance to have an insurance card. But what are you getting out of it? I'll always use me. $3,000 a month is what I had to pay. Well, that's simple math. It's $36,000 a year and then a $10,000 deductible. So I'm going to pay $46,000 before I even, really get to use anything. Like, could that money not go somewhere else? What if I joined a network where the doctors really didn't care about insurance, but they said, hey, we're here to help people, so we can set our own prices. A lot of people don't realize if we take insurance, then you can't offer the same cash price. The example I'll give is, if I go to a doctor that says, hey, I can treat you, but we also take insurance, they're only allowed to give a 20% discount for cash paying patients. But if we had our own network, like Dr. Jason currently has, he's not regulated by that. So when it's a family coming and saying, hey, listen, we can't afford this. Okay, well, great. Then he has a private fund that he can use to still work with that procedure. And I think that taking that and rolling it into the Prodigy network is a big thing for us over the, really the next 12 to 24 months. And I mean, that's slated.
Yeah.
Like we have contracts signed. We literally are getting ready to announce our board of advisors. So we're looking at, Dr. Jason on there. We're looking at 2 different orthopedic surgeons, a cardiologist, a urologist, an ear, nose, and throat specialist, 2 dentists. I mean, so one of the things that I've been really focused on is, yes, let's focus on telemedicine, but let's build a network. Let's build a network right here. And that's a big thing for us. So I think when we look at forward looking, like, what are we going to do? Well, that's what we're going to do. And I think we're going to really make that push. I mean, we're still going to do the, all the data and start using a lot of predictive analytics and AI intelligence to really streamline what we're doing in our niche market. We've made a big push in real estate. You look at the real estate industry, most are 1099. Most don't have insurance if their spouses don't. So for us, it was very essential to hit that market. It was essential for us to start looking at unions, and municipalities. I've actually been working with 2 municipalities here in Florida, hand in hand, over the last few weeks about Prodigy and about the RX program, and it's extremely well received, to the point where I've been scheduled to be at these meetings, if it's a city council meeting or it's a closed door meeting. So we're really moving, in that direction. I think that's a big thing for us over the course of the next, let's say 10 quarters, right?
Right.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I like it, Mike, and you and I talked about it, right? I think the ability to scale quickly and efficiently is tantamount right now at where you're at. And the reality is, with all the brick and mortar we have, are actually, working, with those products that are very, very similar to the stem cell approach. I think building a co-op of some sort, whether it's your own stores or even including others, now all of a sudden, your market acceleration is going to be dramatic. Your cost of entry and acquisition is low. So I love it. I think that's a great idea.
No, and I will tell you, and Jason and I, we've been friends for a long time. He's my personal doctor. And it's when I brought him in and say, hey, would you advise us here? And I was blown away at the reception from doctors. Just number one, based on Jason's recommendation, like, hey, you might want to talk to this doctor. You might want to talk here. And I was just welcomed with open arms, and to sit down and say, hey, here's basically the business. Here's what my vision is. This is what we're doing. Here's how we can afford it. These are the ways. And it was like, everyone was just like, yes. Like, yes, I've been in this insurance game. I've done this. I don't want to do it. I want to help people. There's a lot of healthcare professionals out there that truly want to help people. And it's not all about money. I mean, we need money. Of course we do. We all have bills, inflation, everything. But there are people out there that want to help. And I think for us to take a model and say, hey, what if we, put 7, 8 different specialties in one building or in one location, and it didn't matter what you made. We don't care if you make $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month. Let's help you. And I thought that's what affordable healthcare was, but yet it's not. Like, we know that's not the case, unfortunately. So I think that's a big thing, when we're looking at how are we growing over those next, like I said, 10 to 12 quarters, that's a big thing for us.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And for the immediate care and urgent care kind of coverage you talked about, I'm not familiar enough with how people are executing, any of the companies that are offering that, but that seems like an interesting play. If there's, somebody underwriting that it makes financial sense. I think that, again, that's something else that just helps on the other side of the house, the Prodigy Health Plus. They've got something even more marketable, because now you've added that other wheel, which is a disaster, by the way, for any, insurance experience modifier. Mm-hmm. The thing that we hate most when we go out and bid for these things is the fact, if you get a bunch of people sick or going to the emergency room, well, then your rates go through the roof. So if you have something that's more controllable, spread over a bigger population, I think the cost would be much more controlled, much more efficient.
100%. So when we look at that cost matrix, one of the biggest things for the municipalities that they like is, a lot of these cities are self-insured. They're insuring themselves through the county. Their rates are astronomical. So when you go to them and say, well, hey, what did you pay last year in prescriptions? And then what if I could just eliminate that cost for you? Or how much did your rate go up because how many emergency room visits and urgent care visits did you do? And what if we could eliminate 90% of that because we have, urgent care here, unlimited telemedicine? We even had one of the cities say, would you want to offer, an urgent care just for us. And that really took me back. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, like in one of your clinics that you're acquiring, what if you just had a provider for us from 8 to 5? So if anything happened to one of our 1,800 city employees, we can send them to you. And I thought, would you really do that? And they said 100%, because right now, if somebody gets hurt, we're sending them to 6 different locations. We have doctors here, there. Some people are driving an hour away. What if we just did that in our city? And I mean, that's something big for us, because that's going to save them money.
Yep. And I would look for besides that on your board, look and see if you've got anybody that specializes in workers' comp as well. Some doctors are very, very specialized in it. It'd be interesting to see for the stem cell side, there might be a good play for certain types of injuries that you could at least get the referral, make some revenue there.
No, I think so. I think the biggest thing that, is the FDA. When we look at what are we dealing with when it comes to stem cells, it's like, technically the FDA doesn't, or, they don't want you to say stem cells. We have to be regulated. We have to say human tissue. And, there's so many things there, which is, it's like its own entity inside. I mean, it could be its own business just in that. And that's why I say, like, with those guys, what they're over there doing in stem cell, I'm not involved, because they have a massive undertaking. I mean, we have regulation and we've got regulatory things that we need to abide by. Always telling people, hey, this isn't insurance and this, and never representing it as insurance. They've got their own set of, regulatory guidelines, we'll say, that they have to follow.
Right. And I think the reality is, I mean, you also fall under, what is it, the Right to Try Act?
Yes.
But you still have to work with the FDA on that as well for
disclosure. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, you're spot on.
I will go on mute and leave less spots.
That's okay, man. I always appreciate it. Tim asked, can you speak about the mobile app? Also, are you going to post a page on your website that shows partner pharmacies? Yes. So the prescription website should be launching, I expect, hopefully by Friday. Pardon me. So you'll actually be able to go to the Prodigy Health site and then go over to RX, and then you'll also be able to go to the RX site alone. On there, it will show you all the participating pharmacies. You will be able to enter in your zip code and do a pharmacy search, Tim. So you'll actually be able to see right then and there, like, hey, what pharmacy am I at? What pharmacy, what pricing am I getting? Am I getting different pricing, at a different pharmacy as opposed to the mail-in, things of that nature. Joseph asked, and I hope, Tim, that answers your question. If it didn't, you can reply to yourself. And I'll answer that. You mentioned the OTC 25-cent projection, short-sighted NASDAQ. Here's a list. Is it realistic? In my opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial information. I think for me, it's about the share prices as high as we can get it. I think I'm not going to go into regulatory or, the fiduciary side of things in the sense of what do we have to do to be on one of the bigger markets. That's very easy to find out. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I wish I could answer that better. I know that Jason had mentioned on a podcast that he was looking at 25 cents. I think that's realistic. I think it's extremely realistic, which is insane, because if you look at the price now in the EM, I know that you're seeing companies that, I get messages from people that say, hey, this company doesn't even have a product and they're up 10,000, 20,000%. I think that's all realistic. I mean, I wouldn't tell somebody, to invest based on what my thoughts are. I mean, obviously, I believe in the company, work for the company, and I want to see it succeed. Everybody has to do, their own due diligence. But with that being said, our goal is, yes, like, we want to have the share price as high as possible. That's the whole goal, right? I mean, that keeps our company, in a positive standing and keeps us, in a better position.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Mike. Just chime in for some color commentary. Everyone needs to realize that it's in CNNA's best interest, as well as Mike, Jace, everybody on the team, all of us investors, to have the highest possible price. So there's no doubt about that. When I see people questioning what's going on that don't maybe understand the intricacies that have to happen to get the EM tag removed. I think that everybody needs to remember that and advise people, if they're new traders, that this is the way it works. OTC, you have extreme gains. You have an extreme risk too. So you want to pick companies that have a future. So hopefully all of you are doing your own DD on that.
No, and I think that, I mean, it's spot on, right? I mean, we wouldn't be here if we wanted to be a penny stock, and I mean, I wouldn't be. I can just tell you that. Like, it wouldn't work for me. I mean, I've been probably have 20 years investing experience, and you know, it is risky in this market where we're at. It's, I mean, everything is risky, but the goal is to have everything in place, and I think that's a big thing we've been doing. And I'm going to hit on that here in a couple minutes on things that we've been doing to get off the expert market and all the things that are set in place on why it's taking as long as it's taking. You know, the end goal is to be as successful as possible. Anybody else have any other questions I'm missing here? All right. I think that, you know, a couple things I want to talk about are, well, I've already hit on what our plans are moving forward, what we're looking to do. You know, at Prodigy, we have multiple brand ambassadors that we are preparing content with, you know, for some bigger media drops. And, you know, we're going to see some celebrities, you know, from athletes to acting, you know, things of that nature. So that's one of the big things that we've been working on with our brand ambassadors in the background, you know, to get these things set up to where they have to be. And, you know, I think it's, you know, we're in a unique situation where we are particular about the ambassadors we pick, in the sense of we don't need everybody out there saying, hey, buy this product. And, you know, it doesn't have to be another sales tactic at $29, $39, $49 and buy this so I can make money. I think for us, it's centered around what's that ambassador say about themselves, how to carry themselves, are they healthy, things of that nature. So it's something that, you know, we've been working with different people, interviewing different ambassadors in our selection process on what we're going to do. Anything else about Prodigy before we start taking some questions on the stock? Okay. I guess, Steve, if you want to come back and ask your question, or if anybody else has any questions about stock, let's talk about it.
Sure. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Good.
Sure. What did you want to cover?
But any questions you have about stock, I will address the stock and the EM as we
Okay.
finalize this.
Okay. Well, respectfully, I guess August 10th is when Jason withdrew his last filing. And so it's been, you know, well over a couple of months. And I'm just wondering why it's taking so long. I know you got to deal with legal and accounting, but, you know, being a business owner for close to 30 years, I know it doesn't take, you know, more than a couple months to get financials audited. And I'm wondering I'm assuming you got to submit Q1s, Q2s, and Q3s at this point, along with the Form 10. Where are you guys at with that process? And is there a strong chance it'll be completed and the filings will be uploaded to the SEC this month of November?
Okay. So I'll start with the August 10th comment. So on August 10th, I believe we did a post that we were withdrawing based on the SEC's recommendation and our legal. It was easier for us to withdraw and make the changes as opposed to making all the changes on there and then like resubmitting and doing this. So it was based on their advice, you know, that we did that. And in doing that, I think that it threw, I don't want to say like a missed signal or a red flag, but it left a lot of people have questions. And I really didn't agree with the fact that it was done in the way it was done and then we couldn't respond. And I've said it to you many times personally and to some other people. We are really bound, like tied at the wrist on what we can say. There are so many times where I would say to Jason, and to, the social media people over there, like, why are we not communicating? And it's like anything that we can communicate can be misconstrued if it's not approved. And I don't agree with that. And they know I don't agree with it. And I could get in trouble for saying it, but that's me. And I think that that's really made it complicated and uneasy for some people to have the faith, that I have, or that other people do, because we know what's going on the inside. And, that was my big push with Kelly taking over and, being able to communicate, that's the biggest thing. I think the reason it's taking so long, in my opinion, is there's so much. Like when we're putting in front of legal and our accounting what we're doing, and then coming back and saying, hey, audit these financials, and then having to go to a third party independent of our own team to say, hey, do this, and then answering questions, I get frustrated as hell. Like, to me, my wife's a CPA, so I don't understand, just like you said, how it takes months. But it's like, hey, where are we at? Oh, we'll give you an update at the end of the week. And the end of the week comes and we're not getting the update that we anticipated. Or there's now a list of 30 questions, all the way down to, what was this spent for? What was this? Can you explain this? And, I just think that as we're doing that with two different entities, and, taking companies that were startups and private and now here, it's taken longer than anticipated. And I don't think that anybody on our side's happy. And I'm the most vocal saying I'm not happy that that's not being shared with shareholders. I always say, like, at a bare minimum, we could give updates weekly. And I literally say it in our meetings, and it's finally been received, and I anticipate we'll have that. So I hope that's a good enough answer for that. I think as far as the EM status and where we be, or where we'll be, I think that there's, for us, yes, we anticipate being off in the next few weeks. We expect to be back to trading and having this, EM, tag removed as soon as possible. If it were up to me, it'd be removed tomorrow. I think it's a matter of just finalizing. I believe we're at the final step with all the audited financials, with accounting, with legal, and we should have these updates within the next few weeks, at the longest, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean that just that's my opinion and what I'm seeing and what I'm sharing. That doesn't mean there couldn't be another hiccup. But I can promise you there's not a single person here that anticipates us being on this expert market, in 24, let alone December of this year. I mean, I think that, our goal right now is, I'd like to be off before Thanksgiving. That's me. That's what, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So, and I think that everybody here and all of our shareholders deserve that, and want that communication. I think that's a big thing for us.
Yeah, and Mike, I just like to add one other thing. As a guy, an entrepreneur, working for a small company, again, coming from the Fortune 100s for years, it's people that have never worked in the Fortune 500 type community. They don't realize there literally is hundreds of reasons why it could be in the EM tag, and there's also several hundred reasons to get it removed. So I know you've heard be patient, but the reality is it'll happen in its own time. There's so many different buckets and check marks that have to be delivered to get that tag removed. So it's not as simple. If I go to my CPA firm, I can get a financial statement in minutes. The financial statement just doesn't cut it. You've got regulatory compliance. You've got communication exchange. You've got a recovery plan, depending on what you're doing. Audit and reviews of it. Shareholder communication. What's your plan? And that's a question, Mike, that people would be interested. How many actual filings do you think you guys or notification you'll be sending out after you get off the expert tag? My guess is a bunch.
Yeah, there will be. And you're spot on. And that's something that, my wife reminds me of, hey, listen, she's told me she's been involved with one public entity, and it's a nightmare because the rules are different and the process is slow. And listen, we're not a Fortune 500 company. I would love to be one day. So I'm not going to, sit here and pretend we are, but we still have to follow those rules that those Fortune 500 companies do, because it's so, like we're under that microscope. And I think that I think it's a failed system. and I'm probably going to get shit for that, but it's failed in the sense that we work at their pace and they just drag their feet. Because to them, it's like they don't care, and that's how I feel. And it's like it moves at their pace. We can submit everything and say, "Hey, we're ready, we're ready, we're ready," and then we have to wait for a response and wait for a response and wait. So it's like it's kind of a pain in the rear that they don't move the way we do or that we want, and that's what I always come back to as a private company. Like you're right, I would never deal with this. I mean, I had my private companies, and I would say, "Hey, I need a P&L for somebody." I had it in 10 minutes. you know oh great, thank you. And now it's like we need a P&L, a balance sheet, and then we have to fill this form and do this and then upload it, and it has to get Edgarized and this and that, and there's so many moving pieces that are more to it. And I think that as good as an answer it is that I'm giving, I mean, I'll be the first one to say, like, yesterday was too long, right? Like, the goal right now for all of us is, what can I do today to speed this up? What can we do to make it happen? And there's really nothing that we can do to make it move any faster. And that's why, for me in our division, I've been like, okay, well, I'm going to just keep building out the business, because as a subsidiary for a holding company or a parent company, we're the ones that create the revenue. So my goal is like, hey, if I want to get off this market, like, don't even talk about the EM, but if I want to, make this as good as a stock as possible, it's about creating as much, revenue and value for the company as possible. So, for me, it's like, what can I do? Well, I can't make the SEC and the OTC, and I can't make everybody move faster. I'll just keep pushing hard on our side. Anybody else have? I mean, there's got to be more questions about the EM.
Thanks, Mike, for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So hopefully the filings will be uploaded, I guess, within the next couple of weeks. Sounds like.
Yes. And believe me, I think that they will. Not only will they be up, like, the minute they're uploaded, you will, there will be tweets, and Kelly knows to, not only on our page, but like I said, I'm not sure exactly when she'll be taking over that Twitter account. But I'm excited because I know that she's extremely responsive to most, I shouldn't say most, everybody. I mean, everybody seems like they like her, so she responds as quick as she can, and I think she's demonstrated that she can handle it, and I'm excited for her to have the Cnna side, because 7, 8, 10 updates a week would be amazing over there. I don't think anybody would argue about that.
Yeah, we're definitely due for an update from the Cnna side. So
there will be an update this week. I would anticipate, if not tomorrow, by Thursday. There will be. I don't want to guarantee anything, but I'm going to tell you there will be an update.
Okay.
There will be an update this week.
All right.
If you do it after market, do it on Thursday so we can at least enjoy a Friday run.
Well, everything's always timed. I tell people this. The craziest thing about this EM and this quiet stage is we have over 100 press releases right now. And it's like, if you think of it, we could almost do a press release like every third day. And that's just what we have, so we know what's going to happen, when it's off when that EM status is gone, and we start laying out what we've been doing. I mean, I'm excited for that. And I think that there are a lot of times when I see people's comments and emails I get, or people reach out to me and they're frustrated. It's like, I get it, but it's like, you'll see. And it's not like I told you so, because I appreciate every shareholder, that has been here long before I have. And, the core group of shareholders that we have that have stuck through it and are positive. I mean, I appreciate that. That helps us. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be responding more and communicating better. And that's something that I believe will get done soon.
And I want to thank all of the Canadian friends. I see one of my Canadian friends on here for keeping the stock price going while we can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't even agree with the EM, but they are. Somebody's been making some money. I can say that.
I do have a question, if that's okay.
Of course it is.
Um, I think it was like the day after EM, a bunch of us noticed that there was a couple 100 million extra shares added to the float. Was that found out like during all the audits of the company, or is there anything that you can speak to the extra shares that hit?
Will you send me a message on that? I actually don't have an answer, but I will
Yeah.
personally. I'll get you that. If you just send a message, you can send it to. I mean, anybody can message me on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere they want. I mean, Kelly sees it. I do see it, and most of the time it's me responding on my personal pages. But even if you send it to here, she'll send that message to me, or she will find that answer, respond to you
Okay, thank
on
you.
those shares after that for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Go
One
ahead,
more
Steve.
quick follow-up, Mike.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans for a financial partner to come in to Prodigy this year?
In what sense, Steve?
Maybe a partner coming in which would put up investment capital to expand things?
No, I don't think so. I think financially we're in a good position. I think that we've run pretty lean, and I think that we have the capital to make the moves. With the acquisitions and some of the things we're looking to do, I think that we're going to be very financially set. And
Okay.
I'll never rule it out, right? But I think that it's not. It hasn't been discussed in any meetings I've been in.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir. Anybody else have any questions specifically?
I can't believe everybody shows so shy, Mike. They normally
Well,
are.
and I was just going to make the comment. Like, I'm not on message boards, discords, or anything, but our team is. Obviously they're monitoring that. I know that there's several Discord groups out there. There's Stock Twits. There's Investor Hub, which is BS Hub in my opinion. But you've got, like, I hear about it daily, all the messages and things people are saying, and here I am. So it's like, I think if you've got a question from who the greatest football team in the world is to what I ate for dinner, I mean, I can answer anything. I mean, I know people talked about, I did an interview and somebody said to me, oh, they thought your cowboy hat was on backwards. And I laughed and said, man, I've been wearing a cowboy hat since, I don't know, I could walk. And it made me laugh. Number one, there's a bow in the back of my hat. Number two, I'm an American hat guy. So there's, Positive Times and American Hat Company labels on the back. Like, there's no messing that up. So it made me laugh when I heard something like that.
Mike, what do you think of Jalen Hurts?
I hope he stays healthy. I think the team itself has to really come into its own. I mean, I'm happy. Like, I know you're a Mariota fan, so I'm happy we have him as a backup. And
Right.
of course, I'm happy we beat Dallas. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I think that we almost gave him the game in the last minute. We gave up like 70 or 80 yards and penalties in 46 seconds.
Right.
So, but I'm a fan. I mean, I
Yep.
was born and bred to be a fan.
Sure.
Lisa said, so basically you're telling us no dilution. You are capital ready to move. As far as I'm concerned, yes, there should be no dilution. We are going to be in a very good position. I mean, you have to look, right? I mean, obviously, right now our introductory price is $29.99. We'll bump to $39 probably sometime in Q1. We will also roll out the other plans. The main plan that we're offering now is basically the elite plan. It covers everything. But we do have like travel baseball, travel softball, where those people are saying, hey, this is something we'd like to use the telemed service and teledentistry, the any of those services as we're traveling. So we have those sub plans that will all be coming out in Q1 as well. We have the pet plan. I love the pet plan. We just had one of our dogs neutered. and we've saved 25%. We got our vaccinations yesterday. We saved 25%. Like, I mean, I love my dogs, and for the fact that I can pay $29 or $39 and then save that, it was $1,000 bill for my dog to get neutered. So I saved $250. So the cost of the plan for the year paid for itself there before we even got to shots and heartworm medicine and things like that. So I think as we start rolling out those other plans and really, pushing, to, the predictive analytics and the AI and using that as we target customers, the revenue that we're generating just from the health side um, is crazy. Nate, I don't understand your question. How about the Vikings? Dobbs is the man. That was phenomenal. Has Jason deplaned? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even read it. He hasn't texted me back. I just sent him a text and I haven't gotten a response back. But I can assure you that obviously it doesn't look like he'll be joining this meeting, but he does have full intentions of, like I said, either podcast or when we start we were looking at a minimum of once every month, but I would like bi-weekly Q&As and he will be involved in those. Nate, you asked that. And then, yeah, I mean, as far as football, the Vikings, I'm not a fan of the Vikings, but that was very awesome to see what Dobbs did there. Anybody else?
How about I know you mentioned the kind of the celebrity kind of folks that are going to be doing, basically Instagram, et cetera, promoting the product, kind of influencers. Can you tell the folks more about, how many there is and when do we think we're going to start to see those things kind of generate? Because obviously that's a good thing to help promote.
Sure. Right now, we have 3. And I think that, we look to bring on others. Unfortunately, we couldn't come to an agreement with contracts, things of that nature, which it stinks. I wish that we could have worked out with some other people that, we were talking with, but I anticipate we should start seeing that soon. I know we just did with one of our ambassadors. We just had a shoot basically where we were shooting some content. We were doing some things of that nature. He was also working on his own content that he was sending over to our social media and marketing team, and start getting that out, talking about some of their health stories and what they like about Prodigy and what they're doing and things of that nature. So, right now, I mean, everybody knows about Adam or Braun Strowman, WWE guy. I think that we'll start seeing some more out of him. I just had the opportunity to speak with him the other day, but I think that we'll see that. And then some of the other, we have a baseball guy, potentially we have an NFL player as well, looking to come out. We have a big country music guy who I think is phenomenal, and he's really big on the mental health side. So, we're looking at some, all quote unquote verified semi-famous. I mean, is Braun Strowman? I mean, Adam's famous. I mean, I'm 6'5", 290. I think he's like 6'8", like 320. I mean, I don't really feel too small next to too many people, but Adam's a big guy. So we have that. Michael, will there be a name ticker change for Cnna? Not that I'm aware of. I think that one of the things, I think Steve had asked Kelly about it, and OTC Markets it's a paid platform, right? So we have to submit new information. So I think that it's in the accounting and in the audits and everything we're doing. Excuse me. That's one of the things we're doing is updating stuff because obviously they're making the transition from where they were more cannabis focused to now really moving to the health side. Would I like a name change? I mean, CNA is cool, but I mean, listen, Prodigy would be awesome. I'm not really sure. We do have a guy that has a YouTube channel. He does a Q&A with CEOs. Lisa, who's that? Go ahead and put that in. I mean, I'd be happy to do that. I don't know if anybody wants to see my face. I could wear my hat and it wouldn't be backwards. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk to that person.
And because we love Kelly too, Mike, I want to throw out for really more for Kelly and for you both, I guess. If you guys, I noticed you guys haven't really done anything yet on LinkedIn. When you start promoting Prodigy Health Plus, that's a perfect place. We do a lot of placements, so I'll probably offer up our marketing director if she wants to talk to somebody. She can show how our company has been doing it for the past several years. I think it's a perfect spot for you guys to advertise that product as well as to the individuals, right? But businesses to get a little bit reduced, customer acquisition cost and get a lot more customers.
Definitely. So I will tell you that I'll take you up on that offer. Our marketing team already has it set up. One of the really unique things that I was able to see from a marketing perspective was how you can make one post across all platforms. So, for us, it's just a matter of really, I think, in the next few weeks, once we're off EM and things are moving, you're going to see a lot more marketing and, LinkedIn, I mean, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we'll start seeing more and more. And I think the big thing is you'll see that content's been built. One of the things behind the scenes that nobody thinks is like, what content are we building? So in a sense, having, this on Tuesday and this on Thursday and doing not so much raffles, but giveaways or trivia, like, hey, who wants a free month or who could, just those things. I mean, there's so many things that they've been working on building a content bank, we'll say, that it's not a matter of, okay, we need to hurry up and get this out. And that was one of the things with the influencers, like looking at somebody like Braun Strowman and saying, hey, let's get 8 or 10 videos and have content prepared to roll out. So not only are we rolling out live information, as the day goes on, but we also have filler information, for those different platforms.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And even starting to take, I'm glad to hear you guys really focus on data, because that stuff is really an excellent, resource for you when you start talking about building like an annual white paper, for the different targeted audiences, whether you're going to consumer or if you're going to businesses, a 3 or 4 page cut sheet, some kind of a slick, I think would be a great thing to show kind of before and after expenses, success stories, et cetera. That's all those kind of things that you got to throw out a bunch of hooks, as to catch the different types of customers you're looking for.
So I'm going to answer a question, or I should say, I'll answer the pet insurance question real quick, and then I want to hit on that. So right now we don't have it separated, so you would have to be an actual member. But when you become a member, one of the benefits that you would get would be the pet, Assure, which is the pet insurance company that we partnered with. You would then basically get access to it. You would be, they would, in your e-kit, our welcome kit that you would receive, you would obviously get your, membership card, all your statements, and then all the basically the, from LASIK to eye doctors, vision, which would be eye doctors, I'm sorry, the dental, you'd get that. You'd also get the insurance piece in there. So you would go in, that would be activated for you when you would sign up. I hope that answers the question. For the pet insurance right now, we just don't have it separated right now. If you want to send a message, I think one of the things, like we're doing a promotion where we're waiving, I think we did Flex 20 where we waived the $20 sign up. I think there's going to be something coming out next week where it's going to be like your first month is free if you pay. I don't know how we're going to do it. It's going to be like a buy one, get one, or get one. I'm not particularly sure, but that'll be posted on here for members as well to save some money. Going back, Legend, what if you could just say that again? That message came across and threw me off.
Yeah, not just really talking about the data. If you guys thought
Yes.
about using
Yep.
it for white papers, et cetera.
Absolutely. So one of the things that when we were able to really look, like healthcare is truly a multi-dimensional problem, right? So that's why for me it was building that multi-dimensional solution. So using data research and mining, and I think the way that we're approaching it and the way that we're going out for customer acquisition is very unique. it's using data and public information. And I don't know if people truly understand data, what data is. A lot of times we use the word, but what is data? So data is everything, right? I mean, we all have a data profile online. So from, if we're doing, say ad searches, if we're looking for information, one of the things that we look at to market to a group, if we're looking in, let's just say Scottsdale, Arizona, we're going to use those zip codes, and then we're going to pull data saying who's searching for telemed, who's searching for discount prescriptions, LASIK, using those keywords, and then using it and seeing exactly who's doing it, pulling that information, because everybody has an IP address. You could use a VPN, but IP addresses are there. We can understand that. We can even market down, or not market, but extrapolate the data to the sense of, hey, who's spending more than 10 minutes a week looking for telemed? And, when we can do that, it's like your market's right there. When you can use the internet, for the better side of things, and not just thinking of all the wrong things with it, but so many people are searching for services. If we just look, when we're building out the prescription side, I mean, I think in Florida alone, like the amount of people that look for prescriptions, RX, Mark Cuban, Good RX, any of those companies, you're talking millions of searches per hour. So it's not per day, it's not per month, it's millions per hour. So it's like, well, then we should market to those people. And data is pennies on a dollar, but data is also the new oil. So I think when you start looking at some of the, the projects that, our team has worked on, if it was me in blockchain, if it was some other things, and you start looking at how do we use data, to find information, I think it's amazing. And that's what's so big for us, because that's going to generate massive revenue for pennies spent, if that makes sense when we talk data.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Mike,
Yes.
kind of forward thinking here. Is there any way you could talk to your partners and see if there's a way crypto currency could be interacted with or connected with your business moving forward in the future? As you know, Bitcoin's on its way up. If there's a way somehow you could connect
I'll
the two.
stop you there. I'll stop you there. I can't talk about it here, but we have a crypto piece that will be rolled out very soon. I don't even want to go into it, because right now we just finished that whole, I don't want to even say white paper, but with what happened with Bitcoin moving, with Ripple, which is XRP moving,
Yes.
starting to look at that. I saw something probably 8-9 months ago, and then I was able to work with one of our partners who is very, very well versed and very big in the crypto world. And yes, that will be coming. We will be doing something. I don't want to talk about it. But when I tell you, I'm more excited about the crypto piece than I
Yeah.
am about the Prodigy network that we're
Because
building with the brick and mortar.
that could be
It's
huge.
game over. Game
Yeah.
changer. So when somebody
100%.
says what's getting your stock price up, well,
Yeah.
everybody saw
Yeah.
what happened with companies like Coinbase and
Are you
everything when
kidding
they
me?
went right. So
Yeah.
the move that will happen
Yeah.
when we can push the crypto side,
Yeah. If you can
because
connect
now
it.
you're getting everybody else. So, and I can't. I wish I could talk about it, but that I
Yeah.
can't. But it's going to. That is a
Yeah.
guaranteed piece,
Yeah.
like
If you can get out of if you
100%.
can get out of EM and connect it to crypto, sky's the limit.
So listen, I'm going to tell you, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and I think that when is very soon, right? Like, so
Okay.
we're getting out of EM. It's happening. Like,
Okay, man.
like that's, I mean, that's our goal at this point. I mean, I think that we've done a lot of things, and I hope that the update suffices that we're going to see. I'm anticipating realistically either tomorrow afternoon or Thursday morning,
Okay.
that we should see some kind of update with, just hitting a little bit more on what we discussed.
Okay, man. Appreciate it, Mike.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Did anybody else have any other questions? I know we said an hour, but I think that this is important to everybody, as important as it is to me. So I don't mind taking more questions. If anybody else has any other questions that we can discuss. Well, if there are no more questions, by the way, I was told that Jason did land, but is still on the runway. That's why he did not join us. But he did say he will join. Excuse me.
Yeah, well, just patch us into the pilot. We'll
Yeah,
talk to the
right.
pilot for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry, I'm burping.
On this Q&A.
Man, listen, you're very welcome. And I say it all the time. Like, you people that are participating, you shareholders, you're the backbone. And I know that times people get mad and upset, and I get some nasty messages, and so does Kelly. But I'm never mad. Like, I don't get upset, because to me, it's like you believed enough to take a chance. If it was $5, 5,000, 50,000, whatever it was, you believed enough. And I think that we have the obligation to communicate with our shareholders. And I think that's why we say, like, hey, if you have a question, like, I mean, I don't want to give out my Google Voice number, but I mean, there plenty of people have called me. I'm not opposed to somebody sending a message and me making the time to talk to a shareholder, because like I did in my private sector businesses, you're the backbone. It's not me. I can have a great idea. I can be a great quarterback, but I need a team. And I think that that's something that we have to look at. Each shareholder, no matter how big or small, always has a voice. And, for me, I think it's like, take that shareholder that thought enough to invest in Cnna and Prodigy when they were nothing. And, let's laugh about it when it's where it should be, and we're happy and things are going better. And there's not this silence that we've seen. So I mean, I appreciate every shareholder that joins and asks the questions, even the tough ones, right? I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Now, I will give it another 30 seconds or so. If anybody has any questions, we can end there. For the people that joined, I appreciate it. And like I always say, you can always reach out to me, send a message. You can send a message to me on Twitter, my email, Instagram, however you choose.
Hopefully, you'll have another Q&A soon, Mike.
I'm hoping to have another one before Thanksgiving, especially with Jason not making this one. I'd like to have a Q&A where we could introduce and discuss who our brand ambassadors are, right? And getting somebody like Braun Strowman on, fitting that in his schedule, getting JT and getting the guys from over at Stem Cell. I don't know how that would work. I think that was the biggest thing for us. Like here, it's like you don't realize how hard it is with directors and businesses running, and Jason doing his thing and Pete doing that and me, and it's like, man, it's really busy and it's tough at times trying to get everybody. But I think it was a big thing for me, to really hit on that for people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I think it's important if we can hear from Jason Tucker at some point.
Yeah, I think that he's quiet. He I say I'm a quiet guy, and I like to fly under the radar. It's tough at my size, but he's very quiet and very reserved. But yeah, I think that I anticipate that you'll be hearing more from him. Somebody said to recap, EM should be gone soon. Yes, we should be off the EM as soon as possible. Aiming for NASDAQ in a year or two, I don't know. You can't hold me to that. I think that my goal would be to get to the NASDAQ. That's a major, major goal for us. So I don't want to recap and say yes in a year, and then here we are 12 months from now, and you're trying to hold me to that. But yes, I think our goal would be to, first and foremost, we're coming off the EM, like that's happening, and starting a better communication is really the goals that we look forward to, and just getting things moving in the right direction and getting that stock price moving the way that everybody's happy with, and growing, and yes, eventually growing this to get the share price as high as possible. But if there are no other questions, I will cut it there. Actually, I have a question. So this Buffalo Fireside Chats that somebody talked about, I'm going to invite you to speak as you're listening. I'd just like to know a little bit more about what you do, if that's okay. I don't know if they got the invitation or saw it or heard it.
Well, if he doesn't answer, all I can say is that Buffalo Fireside Chats hosts really great podcasts on YouTube.
And what does he do? I mean, like, what is it? Like,
He
can somebody tell me?
interviews,
Or he or she? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he interviews CEOs, marketers from companies that are, from the most part, on the OTC. Gives them like a platform to speak on.
Hey guys, what's up?
Talk about like.
Hey man.
Hey, how's it going? Little random experience here. So yeah, I was told to hop on here, and I have been following you guys. And so a little bit about what I do is every Wednesday night, and I do cover a lot of OTCs. I'm trying to work my way up to NASDAQ, and just work my way up into some micro caps and stuff. But honestly, I'll cover anybody that really wants to share information for their shareholders or potential shareholders. And so what we've been doing live on the channel is every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. we go live with a ticker or a roundtable or something of that sort where shareholders and potential shareholders can ask questions. Obviously, we try to keep it contained to appropriate questions. We get some wild stuff from time to time, but it's really meant for a sole source of firsthand due diligence. So you're more than welcome to hop on the show and do a live. Obviously, I would have a pre-conference like I do with all my guests. And, I would take questions from people that are interested in your stock and interested in investing in general, and sort of compile a skeleton show. That's what I always do. And I will tell this to any company. I have a skeleton show that I like to sort of abide by, but the whole point of it is for those live questions. So that way people can get the questions answered, whether they're in regards to catalyst, like acquisitions or board member appointments or, share structure updates or, funding issues. So that's really what we're doing. It's really, I got to say, it's a very pro management channel because I want the best message to get out for the company possible, but an accurate one with that.
I think it sounds awesome. I would love to partake in that. And I'm not crazy about, the spaces, Twitter. Like I'm just not. It's tough. Tonight I'm remote, so it's like, I'm trying. Like I've got my team sending me messages, in an instant messenger about who wants to talk and adding people and relaying, hey, look at this. But it's tough, and I think that. Something like your channel with what you do. I mean, we could talk bourbon, stocks, and crypto. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Right?
We could definitely talk some crypto. That's for sure. We could
yeah.
I mean, bourbon. What am I talking about? Crypto. That was so 2022. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's a lot to talk about there, and I really do like to keep it open ended and casual. And I want it to best obviously represent the people that are coming on, and I want to represent the shareholder too, and give them the platform to be able to ask you guys questions. And I was a potential shareholder, believe it or not, but then the CE happened. I know that is really what's driving a lot of this, and rightfully so. I mean, you guys have a lot of upset shareholders, and when you're convicted in the stock and convicted in the story and the business, people are going to hold on. So I think it's going to be a good opportunity for you to come on and we could have that live one-on-one. That'd be great.
No, I'm definitely interested. And I mean, I hope that, we can come on and talk and we'd love, to entertain that. And, I think once we get off this EM market, I think we're going to get a lot more shareholders and a lot more eyes on us. And, as we're growing, we're catching attention. I mean, we're catching attention now. And we're in this EM status, and it's what amazes me that the people that have stayed, and I know there's people out there that stayed that don't want to stay, and people that are upset that this and that, and it's all part of the stock market and how it works. You just hate to be on the side that I'm on right now, where it's like I wish I could make it better. I wish I could make people happy.
Well, can I ask you a question in regards to the EM? And I figured I might as well ask this right now. Were you, one, did you feel blindsided by it? Two, do you feel OTC markets in many cases they don't even give a reason? I mean, we've seen the famous case with CYBL and many others where they just slap the CE on, and it's like a big freaking mystery where people don't know. Well, why is it? I think for OTCM should give a reason. All right, this is why we slapped the EM on this stock. That way it gets addressed. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I agree with it. I mean, listen, if my team's recording it, and I'll deal with the blowback tomorrow, but I think it's bullshit. I don't agree with it. I don't think anybody agrees with it. It was like we were told that they didn't like something, and it was like, hey, get this done, and we got it done. We had an accounting issue where it took a little bit longer on our side. It got everything in, and then boom. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So the EM was something new, right? I mean, it's fairly new to everyone. So I didn't even really give it much thought until the day that it got slapped on. I'm like, we got like, no. Like, hold on, we did everything. So as a director, I was really caught off guard and I didn't agree with it. And I mean, I don't think the OTC does a good job in communicating either. Not that I'm in a position to stand for our company. I think that Prodigy does a good job in communicating, but I've addressed the elephant in the room that we need better communication from Cnna. And I will stand on that hill. I don't agree with the EM status. I don't agree with it at all. And I'll say that till the day I die.
Right on. Thank you for answering that question. And I just hopped on late, and actually, I only have about 2 more minutes. Could I ask you one more question? Have you guys considered legal action in regards to all this? Because it seems very frustrating to many. I mean, that a legitimate company could cease from being traded because of a filing issue that it isn't even being disclosed to public traders. That's my biggest concern.
The best way for me to answer that is yes. Yes, we've talked to our legal counsel about it. I can't go into what's happening or what advice we were given, but yes, we have discussed it with legal. I mean, we discussed everything, right? I mean, from the attacks on me to Jason Black, who used to be involved, and guys like George Sharp and other people, like it's like everything's discussed, but it's not always the answer that we want to hear from legal. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying that more for like when the attacks come to me personally. There's times I'd like to respond and legal says don't respond. But yes, we have spoke to legal counsel about the EM. So I don't know if he jumped off. Oh, there
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Reach out to me. You could shoot me a DM here or at Buffalo Fireside Chats, and we could set something up and talk a little bit more off the record, and it'd be great. And shout out to all. I see a lot of my followers actually on here, so shout out to you guys too. And you guys have a great night.
And I appreciate it. And I've already messaged Kelly and told her to send you something so we can make it happen. I'd love to be part of it. And maybe it's a better platform for us to do the next Q&A, and maybe it's something we can discuss. So
you got it. We'll accommodate.
Thank you so much. If there are no other questions, I hope I answered questions that everybody had. As always, you can always send messages and emails, and we can go from there. But
I got one
Thanks,
more
Michael.
comment, not a question.
Go ahead.
If Jason Tucker is going to be listening to the recording of this, please don't go so hard on you. We loved it.
He is going to listen. They're all going to listen. And I'm looking at the thing. Yes, it's being recorded. Yes, you're going to get in trouble, is what I was just told. But that's okay. I think that, a lot of stuff that was said had to be said. And we have to address those elephants in the room. And it's not really JT that'll complain. It'll be legal and those alphabet companies, we'll call them. So,
well, we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. If there was anything that wasn't addressed or anybody had a question, you can always, like I said, send a message and we'll go from there. Hope everybody has a great night, and watch for that update that's coming. I think we'll start seeing the updates, and everybody will be happy. Good night.